At the beginning of February, the EU told British fishermen they faced being indefinitely banned from exporting live mussels, oysters, clams, cockles and scallops from UK waters because it is now a third country. Countries which don't meet the EU standards have to purify their catch domestically before exporting. The process adds significant costs and delays and is particularly impacting fishermen in Wales and the southwest of England. In retaliation, the UK has now ended a series of post-Brexit continuity agreements it had with Brussels, which restrict imports of European mineral water and seed potatoes. Planning for retaliatory moves reportedly came after the European Commissioner for Health and Food Safety refused to meet Environment Secretary George Eustace to try and resolve the shellfish ban. While the EU arguably continues to show intransigence towards Britain, Brussels has been extremely flexible with other countries in the past. In 2019, the EU was accused of sending out the wrong message after removing Thailand from a list of countries failing to tackle illegal fishing. Campaigners said that the European Commission's decision to lift Thailand's yellow card, in place since April 2015, was giving consumers an illusion that violations of fishers' rights were not still occurring. Johnny Hansen, chair of fisheries at the International Transport Workers Federation told The Guardian, "It's not clear what data the European Commission is using to base its decision to lift the yellow card. But reports we have from fishers on the ground in Thailand are telling us that there's still illegal fishing happening and, more importantly, there is still significant labor abuse and debt bondage in the industry." The EU lifted the yellow card after Thailand had reportedly, successfully addressed, significant shortcomings in its billion-dollar fisheries sector through stricter regulation of illegal, unreported and unregulated IUU fishing. Improvements included remote monitoring of fishing at sea and robust inspections at port. Thailand, the world's third-largest seafood exporter, risked an EU-wide import ban had it failed to take action to meet minimum requirements imposed by the Commission. However, Mr. Hansen said the implementation and enforcement of Thailand's new fisheries regulations was so weak that human trafficking, debt bondage, document retention and poor working conditions remained a significant component of its fishing industry, preventing it from being truly ethical or sustainable. He added, "We've interviewed hundreds of fishers who've told us that the changes made to the inspection frameworks aren't sufficient to detect abuse and have basically been put in place to create a picture that the reforms are working." An Amnesty International report on Thailand's seafood industry published in 2018 found that nearly 40% of fishers interviewed had been trafficked into the industry, and that labor inspections at ports were, largely a theatrical exercise for international consumption. When Britain was still part of the EU, it tried to overturn these fishing abuses. In 2013, small-scale fishermen in West Africa appealed to the then UK Fisheries Minister Richard Benyon to protect their future by voting to restrict overfishing in the coastal waters of developing countries. Leaked EU documents seen by The Guardian suggest that Britain successfully blocked Spanish proposals which, if passed, would have allowed EU fishermen to continue to overfish African and other waters. Abdo Karim Sal, president of the Fishermen's Association of Joel and the Committee of Marine Reserves in West Africa, said at the time, "Our livelihoods and our food supply are being destroyed by EU vessels supported by EU money. We urgently need the EU to reform its policies to give us a chance of supporting ourselves." Monday's meeting in Brussels to reform the EU fishing policy will go a long way to deciding our fate here in West Africa. When I met the UK Fisheries Minister Richard Benyon last year, he gave us hope that he would help, and we know that he has fought for us in these negotiations. Despite Britain's vote, fishing agreements between the European Union and West African countries continue to target fragile fish stocks in the region, according to a recent study by Dr. Afesinachi Okafor-Yawad, who researches why people in West Africa are driven to illegal fishing. Driven by demand back home, EU vessels are targeting fragile fish species such as European anchovy, big-eye grunt, sardinellas, big-eye tuna, yellowfin tuna, and swordfish. Small-scale fishermen in West Africa who rely on local fish could suffer if those populations become depleted. Ms. Okafor Yarwood, who earned her doctorate at King's College London, told Seafood Source, their policies do not reflect the fact that they are in support of sustainable fisheries. The EU should be leading the way and making sure that they do not by their actions or inaction undermine sustainability of fisheries in that part of the world. According to the first post-Brexit assessment of the UK's fisheries, only a third of the UK's key fish populations are in a healthy state. A spokesperson for the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs said, as an independent coastal state, we will manage our fisheries sustainably in a way that protects our precious marine and coastal environment, and enables our seafood sector and coastal communities to thrive. The government is committed to sustainable fishing, and our Fisheries Act enshrined that commitment in law with the introduction of our fisheries management plans, which are legally binding plans for achieving sustainable fish stocks.